Welcome back to Life on the Fringe. Today, I wanted to talk to you all about mental health coping strategies that I have used, that I have found to be effective. And the reason I wanted to talk about this topic was after talking about my mental health in regards to the songs Sober and Dancing with the Devil, link up here, pretty widely viewed compared to like some of our other videos. And I think mental health resonates with a lot of people, especially right now. And I know that many people don't normally have mental health issues, may have them because of the pandemic, and therefore may not have built up an array of coping strategies. I also know that there are a lot of barriers to getting help. Obviously, one of them is health insurance, co-payments, you know, age, for example. If you're a youngster and your parents don't believe in mental health, uh, that could be a reason. Um, and right now, because of the pandemic, time, many offices are booked full. It takes weeks to get appointments. Also, the mental health itself can be a barrier to making that first appointment. So that's kind of my first point of advice. Now, I should say I am not a therapist. This is not my field. I'm speaking from my experience as someone who has dealt with depression and anxiety, panic attacks, OCD tendencies, and disordered eating. I think that's everything. I don't know. They always find something new. Oh, I forgot to mention also self-harm and suicidal ideation. Newest forgetting, and insomnia. So this is what I've been dealing with, and so this is coming from my own personal experience, and also my experience working for a college where I was tasked with evaluating mental health of students and getting them into the treatment that they needed at the campus, especially in cases of emergencies. So that's my background. So my first piece of advice, uh, especially if you are at the place where mentally it is almost impossible to do anything, it is very helpful to confide in a friend or a trusted individual to help you take the first step in getting help. So whether that's them being with you when you make the call to schedule an appointment. If you're walking to an appointment like at a college campus, what we used to do is we would walk students to the counseling for their initial meeting, because sometimes it's just hard and you don't want to get out of bed and it's scary. And so having a person like that is really helpful. It should be noted that this person, um, they're not your therapist, right? So they're not going to know the right things to say all the time. And um, really, the best thing that they can do is just listen to you, and then help you get the help you need um, from professionals. So, one thing that I would suggest uh, doing, and this is going to sound unbelievably tacky, but it has worked for me in the past. Um, if there are songs that you associate with your dark fantasies, whether that's suicidal ideation or self harm, those songs, you should stop listening to them and try to pick up some happier music. I don't mean you should stop listening to like um I don't know, back in my day, like when I took this advice, it was like the All American Rejects. Like I still listen to them sometimes. But there are specific songs from them that I avoid because I know I associated them with these thoughts. And so I started listening more to um, alternative music, and a little bit of like pop music, and like older music, just to break the cycle. And it's not that you can never listen to sad music. I listen to sad music when I'm sad sometimes. But the idea is that you are trying to put yourself in a headspace that is different than the headspace that you're currently in. Another thing that um, has helped is journaling, but not like I don't really. So journaling is you could do it however you please. It doesn't have to be like writing. It could be like drawing. So for me, like I'll doodle sometimes, or like I will trace something, or I'll write song lyrics from songs I like, um, or I will write my own like poems slash song lyrics, um, as they come to me. And all of these ways are a way to get the thoughts that are in your head out in a way that is not harmful to you or others. They agree. So that's been something that has been really helpful, and I've been doing that a lot recently. And it also has the added benefit of if you are seeking professional help, um, you can show them your work. Um, my therapist reads the poems that I share with her, um, and it can also help if you have like a partner or that friend that I mentioned before, um, and you want people to understand. This gives them a little bit more, another way to get an insight into what's going on in your head. But again, they are going to have their own like limits. This is going to be like pressure for them, and again, the only thing you can expect is to listen, and you have to respect that they might not be able to listen to everything all at once because it's heavy, right? And they have their own things going on too. The third piece of advice, um, that goes along with this partner person, uh, is having a kind of like safe word kind of thing. So if you know that you're going into a situation that's going to be like triggering or has the potential to be triggering, you come up with a safe word that um, you can like weave into a conversation, but like we wouldn't normally come up. So, for example, like the app, for me, the app WhatsApp, I don't use it, but you know, I could it could come up in a conversation because we could be talking about downloading it or like Messenger or something. But that would be like a signal that like you know I am on like I could be having a panic attack. I could be having like really obsessive thoughts. Like I need to step away from the situation, and it alerts that person to creating that type of reason for me to leave, or a distraction where I can leave, or where they leave with me. Um, However, it's worked out in advance. Sometimes you're triggered and you don't know that something is going to trigger you. So, what do you do then? So, one thing that I've been practicing is called four square breathing. So the idea of 4 square breathing is that you inhale in your head counting to 4 and exhale counting to 4. Inhale to 4, exhale to 4. And this is especially helpful if you're in a panic attack or on the verge of having a panic attack, or if you're heavily crying, because it's forcing you to kind of regain like control of your breathing. It's making you focus on something besides whatever it is that's upsetting you. And it's a grounding exercise. Another grounding exercise that you can do, and this is not really for panic attacks, but it's more useful for like intrusive thoughts or imagery that you can't get out of your head, and it's putting you in this like deep dark place and you can't get out of it. It's the 5 4 3 2 1 method. So basically you name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can like reach out and touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can like taste. It forces you to focus on the present situation that you're in and evaluate the environment around you, which is what grounding is meant to do. It's meant to bring you back from that place that you were and put you back on your feet, put you back into the ground. Now, for self-harm, some tactics that have been useful for me. One is markers. So this is also true of like imagery. If your imagery is aligned to your self-harm habits, you can say take a marker and like draw where you would want to self-harm. Either draw something that resembles the self-harm but obviously isn't self-harm, or draw something else instead. So like one thing that I do sometimes, I'll sometimes draw where I want to self-harm, but other times I will trace my tattoo with a pen, or I used to like draw, like before I had a tattoo, draw tattoos I would want to have on my arms, and that helped me. I don't know what the logic is to that, but you could try it. However, tattoos are something that got a lot of popularity for self-harm prevention when I was self-harming. So I don't know for sure now if it still is like prevalent in the literature, but I found it to be incredibly helpful. So I was having excessive thoughts about self-harming on my arm, and I wanted to prevent that. So what I did was I wanted tattoos. This is not the only reason I got a tattoo, but so what I did is I got the tattoo here on my arm. And tattoos are kind of expensive. And it takes up a lot of space. So now I would never want to ruin this tattoo. So it's space that I can't self-harm, and it's the space that I had a lot of like impulse to self-harm that I can no longer use. Additionally, tattoo aftercare helps you like reconnect with that part of your body. So specifically for me, since like this is an area that I hadn't been treating nicely in the past, although I hadn't like relapsed right before I got this or anything, but I had the impulse. You have to put like tons of lotion on it. You're like washing it all the time. You are like so tender with it, and it's kind of a way to bring about like positive feelings towards that part of your area that you have been abusing. um, in the past. And I found that to be a really like unexpected but effective way of dealing with self harm. And getting tattoos in places where I like still would like to self harm is something I can plan on continuing to do because it was very effective and I think it will continue to be an effective strategy. Obviously, it's cost prohibitive, which is why the drawing thing is what I was doing beforehand. Another way to um, help cope with self harm impulse uh, is so if you struggle with this, it can be like an intrusive thought. It's not always, but oftentimes it is an intrusive thought, at least for me. So, but it's there, and you are fighting against it and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, and then you're unproductive. So then you feel worse, and then maybe you're like, if you're anything like I'm a perfectionist, I hate not being productive, but my mental health prevents me from being productive a lot of the time. Uh, then I just feel worse about myself, and then it's this like vicious cycle. So one thing that my therapist suggested doing um, is the ice cube method. So basically, you have the thought, right? You try, at first, like your initial coping strategies, like mindfulness, um, pushing the thought to the side, journaling, what have you. But if it's something that is just there and drilling into your head, what you could do is you could go get an ice cube and hold it in your hand, like in your fist, tightly. And it stings. But it also has like the effect of being very grounding, which sometimes is what you're looking for through self-harm. If you're like overwhelmed with emotions, you want to be grounded and get your emotions back in check. It has that effect. um, but it's just like you hold, it hurts. Eventually you let go, you know um, but the reason that this is recommended, and again, it shouldn't be necessarily your first step, but I have definitely used it, and it has worked to prevent me from self harming in other ways, is that there's not a ton of danger with doing this method. Obviously, you don't want to hold it so long that you're going to get like frostbite, but like really you won't because it does hurt. But as opposed to like cutting or other forms of more intensive self harm, this has less potential for scarring and permanent damage, um, and it stops the cycle of thoughts because you've done it now. So you held your ice cube, it hurt, you're grounded, and ideally then you just move on to like whatever task you were trying to do before. Like once you're back grounded, you want to start doing the thing that you were trying to do when before the intrusive thought happened. Oh, one I did want to mention, for eating. So sometimes with disordered eating, or just with like depression in general, your appetite can get lost and you're just not hungry. So one thing that my therapist told me to start doing, and I'm starting to do it, uh, is to eat something, anything, at the time that you're supposed to eat. So, like, for me, for instance, I pretty much never eat breakfast. So that's not really the issue because I get up super late. But I would normally before this have eaten like a pretty substantial lunch, a big dinner, and then cookies and milk for my food. And with my depression, as well as like my past with disordered eating and like my need for control coming back in harder. It's been something that's been getting worse and worse. But I'm just not hungry. So the idea is, if you're not hungry, like you don't eat, right? Like you could have like a buffet in front of you and just be like, I'm not hungry. Like I don't want any of this. Or if you're living alone and you're not hungry, like why are you, and you already have like limited energy, why are you going to the store, right? But the idea with eating at the regular time sets the habit that like no, like to your body that like no, we are eating because it is time to eat. Maybe you don't need to have like a steak and potatoes for dinner, but you're gonna have half of a sandwich, and we're gonna like slowly grow that into steak and potatoes or whatever it is. Like that way you are retraining your body to be hungry at the times you're supposed to eat, because it's very easy to train your body when you're not hungry to never be hungry, which is not good, nor sustainable nor healthy. And additionally, if this is something that you've noticed that you're struggling with, either with your depression or because of disordered eating issues, I would recommend taking maybe like a multivitamin. I take a multivitamin because I know that like while I'm meeting my caloric minimums, because it's like something that's important to me to like do, and I'm taking these like steps of trying to get back into the habit of eating at normal times, I know I'm not getting like all the vitamins I need right now, so taking a multivitamin helps to at least account for the lack of nutrients that I'm getting, even if it's not compensating for the calories that I want to have. So those are some of the ways that I have found to be helpful for these types of issues. I hope that you find some of them useful. If you have any that I have not listed, please put them in the comments down below. I'm always looking for more ways to cope. I'm sure other people are too. This is a hard time right now, and we have to rely on each other. So, thank you for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you did find it helpful, and subscribe to see more of our content. It's not all about mental health, but there are some funny videos, and sometimes you just need to smile, and I have lots of cute hamster videos as well as funny videos of me failing to cook miserably, that are equally hysterical. So if you need to brighten your day. But anyhow, most importantly, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope that you're hanging in there and trying your best. And I know we're all struggling, but I'm thinking of you. I care. And feel free to message me in the comments below. I always read all my comments. I always read my comments, and I respond to almost all of them. So I'm here to listen if you want to talk. Bye.